and fighting the pandemic, you see. We can and we will with the BLP, Barbados Labour Party. We say with the BLP.
Surely the People's Party, the best party for our country.
We stay safe with the BLP.
So we can all feel proud, with confidence say it loud. In the face of adversity, we can and we will with the BLP.
And we are more motley.
A leader of vision, we have no fear. For every single Bajan, we know Mia cares. Mia with Team BLP, leading this country, cause we can and we will with the BLP.
Barbados Labour Party. We say with the BLP.
In these turbulent waters, solid leadership matters.
We stay safe with the BLP.
So we can all feel proud, with confidence say it loud. In the face of adversity, we can and we will with the BLP.
And we are more motley. We going with the BLP. The rest is ready. Them ain't ready. Yeah, we going with the BLP. The rest is ready. Them ain't ready. Yeah, we going with the BLP. The rest is ready. Them ain't ready. Yeah, we going with the BLP. The rest is ready. Them ain't ready. The rest is ready. Them ain't ready. People smiling again, feeling proud again, cause we rising. We rising. We shining again, good things happening again, cause we rising. We rising.
So we must stand together, side by side with each other, on the right path where we want to be, for the sake of this sweet country. Cause we safe with the BLP. And we are more.
Good night, good night, good night to the good people of Ruby Park, Union, Work Hall, and all in the sound of my voice. We welcome you tonight to the St. Philip South National Meeting in support of the next Member of Parliament for St. Philip South, the Honorable Indar Weir. Indar is the man. Good night, Barbados. Good night, St. Philip. And in particular, good night to St. Philip South. we are here in Ruby Park in support of our next representative for St. Philip South in Darweir. Tonight we have a lineup of some top-class speakers who have come in support of their cabinet colleague in Darweir to share the good work of the Barbados Labour Party. The Barbados Labour Party who is here to give a better life for our people. Tonight we were going to start with a man who has been working tirelessly within the Ministry of Finance as we seek to prepare the recovery for Barbados for over the last 10 years. This man has worked to implement policies, and you have seen the benefits of these policies, but don't let me tell you about them. Let me introduce to you the Honorable Ryan Strawn, Minister in the Ministry of Finance, and he will say to you how he has worked hard over the last 3.5 years to provide the stability in our country, Barbados. Let's welcome the Honorable Ryan Strawn.
If you love Barbados as bad as me, me and the team BLP, you want the best for this country. Barbados Labour Party is for we. Them wasn't ready. I voted for BLP. Them wasn't ready. Me and the BLP. Them wasn't ready. I voted for BLP. Them wasn't ready. Mia is blessing me. I know you agree with me. The West of them they went key.
Good night, St. Philip South. Good night, Ruby. I am very happy to be here this evening to say just a few words, as Indar would know, on his behalf. Because this journey that Barbados has been on since May of 2018 and has been Let me start again. This journey that Barbados has been on since May of 2018 has been one that all of us in Barbados can be proud to be a part of. And as I stand here tonight to say some words, not just about what I may have done, but certainly what the members of the St. Philip team have done, but particularly Indar, because you know and I know that a lot of things were not happening in the way that they should have happened in this country prior to us taking office. And whether it is at the constituency level, whether it is at the sectoral level, whether it was at the national level, Ruby, you know and I know that the Barbados Labour Party, of which I am a part, the Barbados Labour Party of which Indar is a part, the Barbados Labour Party of which Sonia is a part, and the Barbados Labour Party of which Kay is a part, has been demonstrating to you and your families what a government looks like. Because we came to office, as I will remind you, to fix a number of very, very critical issues that were confronting all of us in Barbados. Not just here in Ruby and St. Philip, but the whole of Barbados. And it required a team of people who were committed, focused, in order to ensure that you and your family, your friends, your co-workers can start to feel that sense of pride that we as Barbadians have become accustomed to not just because we are Barbados, but because your government was responding to the very critical issues that were confronting this country. I know that tonight, and I'm not sure when the garbage is collected here in Ruby, but I know that all of you here in Ruby and the rest of St. Philip and the rest of Barbados, you can almost set your watch to know when the garbage truck will arrive, so that you don't have to get up in the middle of the night to get the food that was in your freezer for 3 or 4 weeks, run outside hoping that you don't miss the garbage truck. That kind of anxiety that you had living under the last administration, we have solved that problem. And I hope that that problem remains solved for a very long time, because I want to remind the people here in Ruby and in St. Philip that you have had effective representation over the last 3.5 years by your parliamentary representative in Darwin, because in the very early days, we used to start with, as they reported to us, on a daily basis, the SSA would start with about between 12 to 15 trucks. And I'm talking about May 25th, 26th, 27th, those very early days. They would start with between 12 to 15 working trucks, and by 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because the trucks were breaking down, they'll be down to 6 or 7. That was the reality in Barbados when we took office in May of 2018. And that is part of the reason why Barbados was so nasty, because the last administration focused more on glorious things, as was reported a few days ago, rather than focus on the very basic things that were important to you and your family. And all I can say to you is that if your government is not focused, and if your government has misplaced priorities, then you and everybody else in this country would experience not just bad policy, but certainly the negative and adverse impacts of a government that does not care. Because I know that Indar and Sonia and Kay and all the rest of us, since May of 2018, and I thank the chairman for his introductions, because we have all worked hard to bring back a measure of pride and respectability, Ruby, to this country. And I can think of absolutely no reason, Ruby, no reason, why on January 19th, not just Ruby, but the whole of St. Philip should go to the polls bright and early and vote for the candidates of the Barbados Labour Party, because you have seen the difference, a substantive difference in your lives in the last 3.5 years than you experienced in the previous 10. And therefore, I ask you, Ruby, to speak to your friends, your families, your co-workers all across Barbados to make sure that they get up and go to the polls bright and early and vote for the candidate of the Barbados Labour Party wherever they live. Ruby, Barbados is at a critical juncture. And I say so because whilst we have been working to stabilize, as you know, the original mission was to save the dollar, fix the sewage, buy the trucks, get the buses, you name it, we had to do it. COVID has caused a very temporary delay to what we had originally started. And therefore, your government had to make adjustments in order to make sure that ordinary people in this country can survive. And I know, Ruby, that all is not well in Barbados. But the reason that all is not well in Barbados has nothing to do with the Barbados Labour Party. Not at all. Has nothing to do with Indar K or Sonia or any of us. But the fact that we still today, Ruby, and I shall repeat it every night for the rest of this campaign, we are still today, Ruby, paying for the fuel that the SSA used that was left unpaid by the last administration. We're still paying for the fuel used by the Transport Board under the last administration. We're still paying for the fuel that the fire service used under the last administration, those bills that were left unpaid. And whilst we are doing all of that, we're still paying the unpaid NIS. For public servants, $6 million every month that was not paid between 2015 and 2018. And we're doing all of that while still keeping current with the obligations and still had to turn around and respond, ladies and gentlemen, additional expenditure to ensure that families in this country can survive. We had to spend money for people to breathe, to produce oxygen down at Harrison Point and all of those isolation facilities so people could breathe. And so your government, of which Indar is a part, took critical decisions to save Barbadian lives, the lives of you, your families, your friends, whoever you knew that contracted COVID. Those are the decisions that we made. And we stand by those decisions because, as I said, a government must be capable of responding to the needs of the people. So I want you to cast your minds back very carefully to remember that your garbage wasn't being collected, the bus service was atrocious, sewage was on the streets, buses were breaking down and catching fire. All in this country, almost half the country was without water. And the last Democratic Labour Party government was incapable of solving those problems. A lot of people were not paid for goods and services that they provided to government. And we had to settle that too. And we are still settling that, while still keeping current with our obligations. So I ask you to reflect on that and ask yourselves, what would you want with the Democratic Labour Party to come into the mix of COVID when they have demonstrated a complete incompetence with respect to dealing with basic things? There's no playbook for managing this pandemic. None at all. But we took a very sure-footed approach through sound policy to make sure that you and your families can stay safe. And that is why it is safer with the BLP. You know it and I know it. And therefore, on January 19th, next week, Wednesday, because January 19th sounds like it's far, but it's really next week, Wednesday. Next week, Wednesday. There's only really one clear choice, Ruby and St. Philip. Only one clear choice. And that is to go and vote for Indar Weir at your polling station. And remember, don't let the X touch nothing at all, at all, at all, at all. Make sure you walk with your mask and sanitizer and go with your families and groups so that we can get this thing done and move forward. And I want to say to Ruby and all of Barbados tonight, whoever is hearing me, there's a lot of foolishness circulating. People sending stuff on WhatsApp saying this, the next, the third. And I hope that people will look clearly at the record of the Barbados Labour Party Do not allow yourselves or your minds to be confused with foolishness. Because I can tell you, when I look at the manifesto that was put out as a document for the Democratic Labour Party, like everything else that you are seeing circulating on social media, it is just made up. And a government that does not have, or someone wanting to be a government that does not even understand what has been done in this country. I say to you, Ruby, these people ain't ready yet. The song says very clearly, they ain't ready yet. I don't know that they'll ever be ready. And we have got to accept, Ruby, that until the Democratic Labour Party or any of the other parties go off in the wilderness and find themselves and understand that trying to win an election is not the same as governing, then you cannot take them seriously. You cannot take them seriously. I don't take them seriously. And to the extent that we are here tonight to support Indar and Kay and Sonia in St. Philip, I am asking you, Ruby, I have worked hard, Indar has worked hard, Kay has worked hard, Sonia has worked hard as an MP to make sure that St. Philip North is adequately represented. And I want to make a very clear point to you, Ruby, because I want us to understand that in the past, we've had situations where a government might win 21 seats, 22, and if a road or a project was started in a constituency, and then after the election, that constituency was not part of the government, then you know, as we all accepted, that that project or road or whatever it is will come to an end. But during this last 3.5 years, we have had a true government. Because when you look objectively at all of the critical areas that this government has had to respond to, it was not with a view only as it relates to the constituency. Because Indar, as the Minister of Agriculture, and I know that while St. Philip is a major part of the agricultural belt, Indar has been working to make sure that not just the agriculture projects take place in St. Philip. And I want to make this point so that you understand that as a constituency and as an MP, all of you, if not most of you, when you wake up in the morning here in Ruby, all of you don't go work in St. Philip South. You leave the boundaries of St. Philip South and go somewhere else in Barbados and work and come back. And therefore, you must understand that in the context of being able to govern to ensure that there is cohesion between the national and the constituency level, that whilst as an MP, I want to see things happen in Christchurch Central, and Indar wants to see happen in St. Philip South. But the reality of the situation is that you must ensure that you have an ecosystem, that you and your families can earn a decent living, but that you create that business climate across the country. Because we can't all coexist or exist in a vacuum here in St. Philip South. And by extension, Barbados does not exist in a vacuum. And therefore, the interconnectivity between you and the rest of Barbados and the economy, and Barbados between the rest, in terms of the rest of the world, is critical. And therefore, when we seek to create projects going forward, it is not just with a constituency view in mind. We must understand that if you focus only at that level, then you will not reach the kind of transformation and development that the Barbados Labour Party wants to bring to this country. And therefore, we as parliamentary representatives, yes, you voted for us, but collectively, St. Philip South, collectively, all of our futures are intertwined with each other. And therefore, as a government, a true government, you would see project after project after project after project, program after program after program, meant specifically to ensure that we can address cross-cutting issues in this country. Yes, there may be some localized issues which have to be addressed, and certainly they must. But in the middle of this pandemic, we have had to make very clear strategic decisions about how your taxpayers' monies are spent. And I can say to you that certainly Indar, and I can tell you, you see, Indar's demand. But Indar's demand that every Thursday just come and ask me, Rand, when we can get the money to do X, Y, Z. And I want you to understand, it ain't the money to do X, Y, Z just for St. Philip South. It is to ensure that the programs can be successful. Because as I said, many of you, when you leave your homes when the morning come, you leave the boundary of St. Philip South in order to go and find employment. And therefore, by the same token, there are persons from outside who come and work in St. Philip South. And therefore, the success of the programs that we have been implemented, we must understand that we must not think in the context of your constituency only. And I know that we all want everything to be done today. You and I know that in your families, you've had to make adjustments all the time. But particularly in COVID, all of you have had to make adjustments. All of us. And even though some of us may not have lost our jobs or lost any income, I really know, and I want to thank you, because I know that all of you have been helping other people who have been affected by this thing. And therefore, the government has been juggling not just the public health, safety, and the measures to do with that, but also making sure that persons can keep their heads above the water. And I know that all of you here in Ruby have been helping either through your church, your friends, your workplace, and that is the Barbados that we want to be able to help foster, because we cannot allow anybody to fall under. And I want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart for helping to do that. Because as I said, we're still paying them old bills that the last government left. Because I want them old bills off of my back, so that we can start to invest and do transformational things. And therefore, we have come to you, Ruby, and the country, in our manifesto, to show you an absolute clear vision for how Barbados can transform. But in order for us to do so, we must be confident in ourselves, in our ability, in our leadership. In our leadership. And I believe that our record over the last 3.5 years speaks volumes for that confidence that you now should have. And it also should signal to you that we don't just talk about pride and industry as if it's just on the coat of arms. We have worked to make sure that we can repair the economy. In spite of COVID, we continue to make progress with the transformation. But we now must ensure, Ruby, that we press on. And I say to you, as I've said to my constituents, when we wake up on January 20th, and Indar is returned as the duly elected representative of St. Philip South, the Barbados Labour Party intends to start to press gas, because we spent the last 3.5 years just trying to stabilize the condition of the country. And I'm asking you, Ruby, and I'm asking the rest of Barbados, let us press on the gas, because we have been taking too long to make decisions to transform the country. And the longer it takes for you to make a decision, the higher the cost, the more expensive it takes to maintain the status quo. We're wasting resources effectively. And therefore, when I ask you, Ruby, and I say to you, it is time to press gas. It is time to press gas. Because the transformation of Barbados now begins with each of us. And we have been working to make sure that we keep you informed. There's nothing, and I say this very clearly, and I hope people are hearing me. Any decision of the government of Barbados, there is always some kind of parliamentary approval. Whether it's a debate, a resolution, a bill, legislation, whatever it is. And therefore, Ruby, do not allow there are people who sit down on social media and just make up things. And they make up things because they want likes. Because the more likes you get, the more money. There's a process, there's a fancy term, I don't remember what you call it, but there's a process on social media that the more likes you get, the more money you get, because it's called engagement and clicks and impressions and these types of things. And therefore, when you circulate these things because it sounds salacious, all you're doing is helping somebody else to make money. But by the same token, you're spreading misinformation. And therefore, I say to all Barbadians, and certainly to those residents here in Ruby tonight, the Parliament of Barbados is your parliament. Everything that we do is published on the Parliament's website. And if you have a question about anything that has happened, you can go to Indar, you can go to Kay, you can go to Sonia, or any member of Parliament, or you can go to the Parliament's website itself. But certainly you can ask your member of Parliament what has happened. Because people are trying to portray things in a way that is not. They're trying to confuse you. They're trying to create mischief and to create mistrust with your government. When we put out our 2018 manifesto, we told you what we would do. When you look at the results today, you can see, you can feel what we have done. And I say to you, Ruby, I say to you, St. Philip South, and the whole of St. Philip, trust in Indar, trust in Kay McConney, trust in Sonia Brown, because those three will continue to represent all of your interests in a future Barbados Labour Party government in this country, but equally, not just to represent your interests, but to transform the way that we live, to provide opportunities for all of the young people that we have started to do. But COVID, regrettably, had a pause, but we are going to live with it, and we're going to recommit to doing it. Because our intention was to be able to train 2,000 young people every year, those young people who left school without any certification, to make sure that they're not just ready for work, but can become responsible citizens and to be take advantage of the opportunities that we are creating for them, whether in agriculture, whether in coding, whether in the maritime space, you name it. That is what we have started to do. And I say to all of you tonight, if you know any young person between 16 and 25, please encourage them to join the Barbados Youth Advanced Corps. Encourage them. And whilst they're there, they will get a measure of discipline, because no matter what you do in life, you need discipline to be successful. So that after 2 years, they are in a position to have some options. Because when people do not have options, they lose hope. And the Barbados Labour Party has been committed to creating that better life for all of our people. And we continue to work day by day by day by day to ensure that that happens. And so when any candidate from any of the other parties come to you and knock on your door, I need you to ask them a simple question. Are you serious? Are you serious? Because what they've put out in these manifestos, or something claiming to be manifestos, certainly is not serious. And I know that you know what a serious government looks like. And I want to say that, as Indar would tell you and attest, the Prime Minister don't let up. William will tell you, he stand up there, the Prime Minister don't let up. Because when we say that we can do something, unless something extraordinary comes out of the way that prevents us from doing it, the Prime Minister look at me and say, Ryan, where the money is. Because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, nothing happens unless the money is allocated for it to happen. And therefore, Indar and all of us have been trying to ensure that we balance the very critical priorities that this country has faced in the last 3.5 years. And as I said, when we started this journey, it was a different mission. COVID came along, and as I said, the mission shifted, it changed, we had to make adjustments. But now that we have been able to see and experience what the pandemic looks like, I say to you, Ruby and St. Philip, it is time to press gas. Because in order for us to be able to escape the harsh realities of COVID-19, we must work with each other. We must work government with the people. And if you are not feeling some level of discomfort, then it means the status quo remains. And our reality of our situation today in Barbados is that there are still too many things that we are doing because that is what we know them to be. And we have to change our mindsets and to appreciate that we now have to make sure that all of us are able to share in the bounty, and therefore, having endured what has been a quite laborious 21 months, I say to you, Ruby, I say to you, St. Philip, that it is time for us to work hand in hand. Constituent to MP, MP to constituent, MP to the government to the MP and to the people, that we must work hand in hand to make sure that not just that no one is left behind, but that we can actually create the opportunities that allows your children, your grandchildren, to be able to feel that sense of pride that all of us feel as Barbadians. It will not be easy. It has not been easy. And I know that sometimes it gives the appearance of being easy, because every time there's an IMF report, it says Barbados passed all its targets. It met all its targets, sorry. And it becomes almost like a routine thing. Oh, the government can get it right. But the effort that is required to do so, ladies and gentlemen, is significant. And we must maintain that stellar record. It has not been perfect, and I'm not saying that it is. But we must maintain that record of achievement, because the attainment of excellence, Ruby, the attainment of excellence has to be the hallmark of everything we do, no matter which government department we work in, no matter which part of the private sector we work. The attainment of excellence must be what we get up every day and aspire to. Because if we do that, then it means that we will be able to make sure that we don't leave anything for tomorrow that we could do today. If you could do it today, do it today. Because I don't know what tomorrow will bring. And therefore, your government over the last 3.5 years has been doing just that. Because there are a lot of things that are still outstanding for far too long. We shall address them. And I say to you, Ruby, do not lose hope. Stay the course. The Barbados Labour Party is charting a course that will transform Barbados. And transformation should not be something to be afraid of. It just means that we must up the ante. Up the ante. Ask ourselves, why are we doing this way? Is there a better way to do whatever it is that we're doing? And that in so doing, we're not just making it easier for people to do business with us, but we're also improving the experience. That experience, whether it is government or the private sector, we must be committed to improving the experience. And that is what Indar has been working on, certainly that's what Kay has been working on, to make sure that your interaction with government is as seamless as possible. We will continue to work on a number of these issues which have been long-standing, and that in so doing, it means that you, as citizens, rather than having to spend time going to a government department and stand up and waiting and hope that the form will look right and that somebody come back from lunch and all of those things, we must transform. Because all of that is time. Time equals money. And the way that we allocate our time and the way that we allocate our money will determine the future of Barbados. St. Philip South, I hope that my few words here this evening would have given you absolute clarity as to what your purpose should be, not just on January 19th, but certainly on January 19th, it gives you purpose for what your particular mission would be. Because I want you to go to the polls on January 19th, place your X next to Indar Weir, and if you do that here and you tell your friends in the rest of St. Philip to cast their vote for Sonia and Kay, then I know that the parish of St. Philip and the constituency of St. Philip South, where we are, will be able to see a brighter future as part of a united Barbados, as part of a country under the leadership of the Prime Minister, Mia Amor-Motley, that will help not just to transform Barbados, but we intend to transform the region. And when we transform the region, we can transform the world. Because there is absolutely nothing, Ruby, that Barbados cannot do. The only thing that will stop us from doing it is us. And therefore I say that the mission on January 19th is to choose the government that you want to take this country forward. Don't mind the foolish talk about the opposition and all that kind of foolishness. You must go to the polls and choose the government you want. Because it is in choosing the government that you want to take this country forward is where you will see the transformation. And I know that if you assess critically and objectively the record of the Barbados Labour Party over the last 3.5 years, then the choice is clear. Vote for Kay McConney. Vote for Sonia Brown. Vote for Indar Weir and return the Barbados Labour Party to govern this country and allow us to continue the transformation that you and your family so obviously deserves. That, Ruby, is your mission. That is your mission. And I want all of you, when they come knocking at your door, as I said, ask them a simple question. Are you serious? Because we are serious. And you know, as the song says, they ain't ready yet. And until they get ready, I want you to focus, and holding us accountable for what we say that we will do. We will come to you, explain what is required of all of us. We will build the consensus, Ruby. And in building that consensus, I know that Indar will be at the center of ensuring that not just your interests are represented, but the stakeholder interests that relate to you are represented, as I would from my end, and all of us will do to make sure that the appropriate policies are implemented. Ruby, St. Philip South, I ask you one more time, go to the polls on January 19th. Place your X next to the name Indar Weir. And I know that when you do that and the votes are counted on the night, that Indar Weir will be the duly elected representative once again for St. Philip South, and that you will not wake up on the morning of January 20th with that bad sinking feeling in your stomach, but you will wake up knowing that you have done your country a service and that you have invested in the future for your children and your grandchildren, and that Indar Weir will be the man to represent you in the House of Assembly going forward for the next 5 years. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you and good night.
Don't stand for man, play that you vex. Get out there and give me the X. Cause you know BLP is the best. BLP. If you love Barbados as bad as me,
For BLP.
Mia and the team BLP.
For BLP.
You want the best for this country.
For BLP.
Barbados Labour Party is for we.
For BLP. Them boys ain't ready.
Them ready.
Them boys ain't ready yet.
I voted for BLP.
Them boys ain't ready yet.
Mia and the BLP.
Them boys ain't ready yet.
I voted for BLP.
Them boys ain't ready yet.
Mia is best in lead. I know you agree with me. The rest of them ain't ready, and that ain't too good for we. But Mia and BLP, the future for this country. So January 19th, I vote in BLP. If you love Barbados as bad as me,
For BLP.
Mia and the team BLP.
For BLP.
You want the best for this country.
For
Well,
BLP.
Barbados Labour Party is for we.
For BLP. Them boys ain't ready. Them boys ain't ready yet.
I voted for BLP.
Them boys ain't ready yet. Them boys ain't ready. Them boys ain't ready yet.
I voted for
Them boys ain't
BLP.
ready. Them boys ain't ready yet.
But me, I care about you. We love the BLP crew. Cause we get back free, free, and look how the bus is running smooth. Look how the sewage move. We know got things to do. So January 19th, come and get in the groove. If you love Barbados as bad as me,
For BLP.
Mia and the team BLP.
For BLP.
You want the best for this country.
Yes, vote for BLP, a better life for our people. And let me remind you, this coming Wednesday the 19th, go out, please go out and place your X in St. Philip South for Indarware, in St. Philip West for K. McConney, and in St. Philip North for Dr. Sonia Brown. What an inspiring speech by the Honorable Ryan Strawn as he reminded us of the heavy lifting that they would have done to ensure that we got to this stage after 3.5 years. This evening, we have, as I said, a list of our representative colleagues who have come to share and tell you about the hard work that they've been doing over the last 3.5 years. And yes, we are also going to hear from our Prime Minister, the Honorable Mayor Amor Montley. But now, I want to welcome a man who has worked tirelessly. You would recall that we had Hurricane Elsa. We had the freak storms. And you, especially in St. Philip South, many of the houses were damaged from Elsa. Some not only damaged, some completely destroyed. And this man who is going to come to you has been walking the length and breadth of Barbados with the different representatives from the different constituencies to ensure that those persons who were displaced were given hope for housing and a better life. And who am I speaking about? I am speaking about the Honorable William Duguid. I was looking to the left, but he's coming to the right, but he's coming from the left. Let's welcome the Honorable Dr. William Duguid to speak to us.
People smiling again, feeling proud again, 'cause we rising. We shining again, good things happening again, 'cause we rising.
In times of storm, we build back stronger. When dark clouds cover, from ashes we rise together. And fighting the pandemic, you see, we can and we will with the BLP, Barbados Labour Party. We say
Good night to the people of Ruby. Indeed, good night to the people of St. Philip. I have come here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, to support the candidacy of all three candidates of St. Philip. In St. Philip North, I've come to support Dr. Sonia Brown. In St. Philip West, I've come to support Kay McConney. And of course, in St. Philip South, my friend Indar Ware. Because with the benefits of technology, although we have people here who can hear our voice and to see us, the magic of the internet and technology allows people all over Barbados, indeed all over the world, to monitor and see what we are saying, to see our programs, and to be able to appreciate the meetings that we're having tonight. So the Barbados Labour Party is actually having 3 of these meetings, and people can stay from all over the world and watch these online. And that is the benefit of using the technology, especially at this time when you know that we can't gather in large crowds because of the risks of passing a virus from one to the other, the great pandemic of the second decade of the 21st century. You know, a few years ago, if someone was to tell us that we'd all be walking about in masks, and we'd all be sanitizing and having our temperature taken whenever we went into somewhere, people say, man, you making sport. It reminds me of something that I saw, a quote, an interesting quote by a person on social media. And it made me smile, but it went down to the actual basis of this pandemic. And it said, all of those years of practicing safe sex, to then come and run the risk of dying from an unprotected handshake. And that is the basis of this. That the sad thing about the pandemic is that social interaction that we so loved and enjoyed has been restricted, but necessary if we are to survive. And, you know, as I often say in groups as I meet people, that it is better sometimes to play it safe than to run an unexpected risk. And that is the basic understanding that we come to you as a party about. Because we want you to play it safe with the Barbados Labour Party. Play it safe with Mia Moore-Motley. Play it safe with Indar Ware. Play it safe with Sonia Brown. Play it safe with Kay McConney. Because with all of those people and with all of the team of the Barbados Labour Party, you are in safe hands. Can anybody that is hearing my voice vouch that they would be in safe hands with Frandell Stewart? Well, we were not in safe hands when they were the government. When they were the government, we saw downgrade after downgrade. We saw sewage on the streets. You certainly could not be safe with sewage on the streets and the risks of infection from that sewage. We saw people struggling to make ends meet. You were not in safe hands with the Dems. And we have proven, we have shown that with the Barbados Labour Party, we have kept the people of Barbados safe. With the pandemic, the first thing the Prime Minister did is made sure that we got care packages out to people of this country. You know, people seem to not remember that. 80,000 care packages were given out across the length and breadth of this country, so that people of Barbados could have a little something to eat and drink when the day come. But she didn't stop there. When we then turned around and had the volcano with ash all over the place, the Prime Minister said, let us change this tragedy into a benefit. Let us put our young people to work to help us to clean the country up. Hundreds of young people were brought on to be able to clean the roads, clean the buildings, clean at the National Housing Corporation estates, and get Barbados back to what it should have been. Because Mia Amor-Motley has a vision. And she also not only understands what we need to do, but she's prepared to think outside the box to take Barbados forward. Well, you and I know that the Dems would never have come up with that. They would have said, oh, wait till the rain come and wash it away. But you and I know if the rain came, it would have washed the ash in the drains and the gutters and the wells, and we would have had another problem with flooding. And this is why you have to have faith and have confidence in forward-thinking leaders like Mia Amor-Motley and Indar Weir. So when you go to the polls on January 19th, I want you to think on these things. I want you to think on who will keep you safe. I want you to think on who disappointed you. I want you to think on who caused the degradation of downgrades, of our standing in the international world. I want you to think of who swing that downgrade around to upgrade after upgrade, to the point now that our debt people are lining up to buy. You understand what I'm trying to explain to you? I'm trying to tell you that the Barbados Labour Party, that Mia Amor-Motley and her team have protected you. And it isn't every single thing that we come and tell you. Needless to say, nobody is talking about devaluation. That was not the case under the Democratic Labour Party. The dollar was under threat. But we came to office and we secured the Barbados dollar. And we made sure that that threat was reduced. And we reduced the national debt. You understand that we were the third most indebted country in the world at the time under the Democratic Labour Party. And we've completely changed that around. Completely changed it around. Saved the dollar, reduced the national debt, and put Barbados on a trajectory for success. To the point that the international world was saying, well done. A good party, a good leader, and a good government had finally come to office. You know, and I say all the time, a friend of mine from Trinidad told me they have 47, I think, members of parliament. And they said they would trade in all 47 for one Mia Amor-Motley because of the way she's able to work, the way she's able to take charge, the way she's able to lead from the front. Lead from the front. You know, the last administration had a guy that said that he was sleeping. He should have stayed sleeping. Because he led Barbados down the rabbit hole. Led Barbados in a direction we did not want to go. And he and the guys that were with him supported him in that path. And you, the people of Barbados, told them in no uncertain terms, that path is the wrong path. And if that path was the wrong path then, why would they think that after 3 short years, that the Barbadian people would have forgotten the path that they were taking us down? I want you all to get out in your numbers and show them in no uncertain terms that we are not going back to the Democratic Labour Party candidates, not the ones that were with Frondell, because the path that they were going on is the path of destruction for Barbados. And that is not where we want to go. You believe the audacity of a one named Eswick to come and say that he gonna run again in St. Philip?
Oh.
Ridiculous. And I have faith and confidence that the people of St. Philip West know better than that. And I know that they will get out in their numbers and vote for Kay McConney, because we know and you know that Eswick is definitely what we no longer need in the Parliament of Barbados. And I want you to understand that Sonia Brown has done a tremendous job in St. Philip North. With her program of getting food to children in the primary schools can be matched by nobody. I wish I had a program like that in Christchurch West. I'm a little jealous, that's the truth. Because her program, a Feed the Children program in the primary schools in her constituency, is talked about across the whole country. And she has done a fantastic job for the people of St. Philip North. And if you know that Sonia has done a fantastic job for St. Philip North, and if you have faith and confidence that Kay McConney will do a wonderful job for the people of St. Philip West, and you know for sure because you've seen the wonderful work that Indar Weir has done for St. Philip South, well then you ain't got no choice. You have no choice in St. Philip. You have to get out and vote for the respective candidate all across St. Philip. So I want you to get out and vote in your numbers. Carry your friends, your family, your brother, your sister, your uncle, your aunt, your neighbor, the girlfriend and the wife. Carry everybody you know and make sure that they vote for the Barbados Labour Party in the particular constituency in St. Philip. Because a vote for the Barbados Labour Party candidate in your constituency is a vote for the safe hands of Mia Amor Motley. It's a vote for the visionary leadership of Mia Amor Motley. It is a vote for the whole team of the Barbados Labour Party. I would dare to say, a vote for Indar, and a vote for Sonia, and a vote for Kay is a vote for William Duguid because he is one of the team members of the Barbados Labour Party. And that is what we have to do. Put the Barbados Labour Party team back to work for you. And you know that the Barbados Labour Party has worked hard. You only have to walk around, look around, drive in the buses. Electric buses, air-conditioned, with Wi-Fi, if you please. That kneel for the senior citizens, if they can't step up. This is what the Barbados Labour Party government has done for you. Improved the roads, improved the water system, done all of these things to try to make life a little bit better. And if you go to the polls and you imagine you have that ballot right in front of you and you study your head and you say, the Barbados Labour Party, they had 3.5 years and they've done a fantastic job. They've had problems and they've surmounted those problems, and the Prime Minister has led the way. The other side, we didn't know our head from our toe. We didn't know whether we were going or coming. We didn't know what next negative we were going to get. It got to the point that downgrades were coming so fast and furious, we were numb to them. We could not borrow a ying because of the downgrades. And then the Barbados Labour Party came to office. And they worked hard and tirelessly to get this economy going again. And we started to see improvements. We started to see a confidence come back to the people of Barbados. And that's exactly what we needed. And all we need now is to see all of those programs and all of those projects implemented. So I'm begging you, I'm pleading with you, I'm asking you to do the right thing. And you and I know it's the right thing. You and I know that this is the team for this time. You and I know that the Barbados Labour Party is the party we need to lead this government and to lead this country. And you and I know that the policies and programs of the manifesto are forward-thinking. You know, I look at these houses. The vast majority, not up to 400,000 or maybe a little bit more. Your land tax will go down significantly. And those under 400,000, no land tax at all. To your child that in the house now, that looking to get some place to buy and branch out on their own. 10,000 houses this Barbados Labour Party government will be building. So people who want to get a house will get an opportunity to get a house. You're going to have to work to help yourself, to help pay for it. But the photovoltaic system on the roof will be contributing to building and buying the land or the house or both. Forward-thinking policies. Thinking outside the box. Because if you don't think outside the box, you're going to be forced to continue to live in the box. And Barbadians are not like that. Barbadians are proud people. Barbadians are innovative people. Barbadians are people who sense and desire the best for themselves and their children and the rest of their family. And if you want the best, forget the rest and vote for the Barbados Labour Party. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you get out on January the 19th, there can only be one choice. I don't even know who is the candidate against Indar, and I don't want to know because he's going to come and he's going to go just as fast as he came because Indar will be returned as the Member of Parliament for this constituency. I want you to get out in your numbers. And the only reason I know the other two is because, you know, when I used to work as an oral surgeon, people would come up to me all the time and say, Dr. Duguay, do you remember me? You did this for me, and you did that for me, and so on and so forth. And to tell you the truth, I did not always remember them because we had thousands of patients. And I would say, well, you didn't give any trouble because I only remember the ones that give trouble. So I know that you didn't give any trouble. So I only remember the other two because they gave trouble. They gave trouble not only to their constituencies, they gave trouble to a whole country. Brought a whole country to its knees. And now that we have finally gotten a new government and a new administration and can stand up, the two of them want to come and bring Barbados to its knees again. Well, I say to the people of St. Philip, no way to that. And you, the people of St. Philip, have a duty and a responsibility to yourselves, to your family, and to the whole of Barbados. Tell them to go back to where they were hiding. Tell them to go back and get far, far away from Parliament. Because the only team that we can be supporting now is the Barbados Labour Party. So I want you to get out in your numbers. I want you to vote for Sonia Brown in St. Philip North. There is no other choice. I want you to vote for Kay McConney in St. Philip West. There is no other choice. And of course, my good friend, I want all the people that can hear my voice. I want all the people through social media and Facebook and YouTube to get out and vote for the Barbados Labour Party candidate in your constituency. And I want you to vote for my good friend Indar Weir in the constituency of St. Philip South. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have put my case before you. And you, at the end of the day, power rests in the hands of the people. The power to choose where you want to go. Choose the direction. Do you want to continue on an upward trajectory, or do you want to take a risk with people who you already know have taken you backward? The choice is clear. Vote the Barbados Labour Party. Vote Mayor Armour Motley. And vote for your future. Good night and God bless you all.
We going with the BLP. We resting ready. Them men ready. Yeah, we going with the BLP. We resting ready. Them men ready.
People smiling again, feeling proud again, 'cause we rising.
We rising.
Do you want to take a risk? Or do you want to be safer with Mayor Armour Motley? St. Philip family, do you want to take a risk? Because as Dr. Duguid said just now, the people ain't ready yet. St. Philip family, we are blessed. We are truly blessed to have in our presence in St. Philip South our leader, our inspirational leader, who has served this country with distinction over the last 3.5 years, and who is prepared to take us, once you steer the course, for another 5 years. People in Ruby, people in Union, people in Work Hall, as you go out in your numbers on Wednesday, January the 19th, to place your X for Indarware, and those in St. Philip West, as you place your X for K. McConney, and those in St. Philip North, as you place your X for Dr. Sona Brown. You will be placing your X for a better Barbados for our people, led by the fantastic leadership of Mayor Armour Motley. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask you to put your hands together as we welcome our Prime Minister, Mayor Armour Motley, to speak to you.
If you love Barbados as bad as me,
For BLP.
Mia and the team BLP. For BLP. You want the best for this country. For BLP. Barbados Labour Party is for we. For BLP. Them resting ready. Them resting ready. I voted for BLP. Them resting ready. Mia and the BLP. Them resting ready. I voted for BLP. Them resting ready. Mia is best in lead. I know you agree with me. The rest of them ain't ready, and that ain't too good for we. But Mia and BLP, the future for this country. So January 19th, I vote in BLP. If you love Barbados as bad as me, vote for BLP. Mia and the team BLP. Vote for BLP. You want the best for this country. Vote for BLP. Well, Barbados Labour Party is for we. Vote for BLP. Them resting ready. Them resting ready. I voted for BLP. Them resting ready. Them resting ready. Them resting ready. I voted for BLP. Them resting ready. But me, I care about you. We love the BLP crew. Cause we get back free, free, and look how the buses running smooth. Look how the sewage move. We know got things to do. So January 19th, come and get in the groove. If you love Barbados as bad as me, vote for BLP. Mia and the team BLP. Vote for BLP. You want the best for this country.
Good night, good night, good night. To the people of Ruby, to the people of St. Philip, as you can hear, the voice is weak, but the spirit is strong. And in spite of that, I've come here to deliver a very simple message. And Indar, thank you for having me once again in this community. We are less than a week away from polling day. And there's a very simple issue that I want you, the people of Ruby, and by extension of St. Philip, the parish, and ultimately Barbados to decide. And it is on the simple issue that leadership matters. Now I'm coming from a different perspective tonight because you know who leads the Barbados Labour Party. And you know that whatever happens on Thursday morning, if we win or if we lose, you know who leads the Barbados Labour Party. But we have now gone through 2.5 weeks of what can only be termed as a charade. And why is it a charade? Night after night after night after night, speakers mount the Democratic Labour Party platform. And I said to you a few nights ago, and I'm not sure how many people picked up on it, that while you are interested in determining who will go to Bay Street, the Democratic Labour Party is consumed with what and who will lead at George Street. You're in two different conversations. You are in two different elections. And if you study your head, every single time, starting with the launch at Checker Hall, not a single member. I watched Richard Seeley come up. He told you about Verla, Madam President. Last night in Brereton for the launch, all of them again with Madam President. The last time I checked, the only Madam President I know about is Dame Sandra Mason. And I have said it in College Savannah, and I'm going to repeat it because sometimes you have to give a history lesson. Sometimes you have to do it. In 1961, and I am a student of politics, as you know, and that period is one that I keep dear because my mother and father remind me that my father met my mother. In fact, it was 60 years ago last month at Chelsea Road under Sandbox Tree, this Saturday night before the 1961 elections. So you see, I never had a chance. But in that election, they started with Theodore Branca, Nicholas Branca's grandfather, as the leader of the Democratic Labour Party. And by the end of the campaign, they had switched slogans halfway to Barrow for Premier. They did the decent thing and told the people of Barbados who they wanted to be their leader then. And the people of Barbados accepted it and voted for Errol Barrow. Today, because of the confusion, Verla and Richard Seeley in a function today trying to show unity, and Richard Seeley still referring to Verla as Madam President. Verla, I feel for you because you have a bunch of men around you who have no goodwill towards you. And as much as I feel for you, the people of Barbados can't feel for you and put you in to lead a country when they don't even know that you're going to be the leader. Let's get real. And if you think that this is a one-off activity, It happened again with Clyde Maskell. And the same Richard Seeley was at the center of the removal of Clyde Maskell too. And this notion about separating president from political leader, I ask you, the people of Ruby and St. Philip, when they come to you over the next 4 to 5 days, tell them, check yourself and go and sort out your business before you ask us to come into mess and confusion. Because Barbados cannot afford confusion at this stage. We have enough problems from outside that we are dealing with. The pandemic has demanded of us the greatest discipline, but yet creativity over the course of the last 2 years. We saw unemployment in this country go beyond 40,000 people unemployed. And we've brought it right back down to 12.5%. It went literally near to 20. Over 20, sorry. We saw in this country 540 people lose their houses in Hurricane Elsa and in the freak storm. And almost 2,000 more houses had to be repaired. Those people, 90% of them, are below the poverty line. And many of them were on this East Coast, St. John and St. Philip and St. Joseph and St. Andrew, because of where the winds come on shore. In addition to that, in recognition of what happened last year with the climate, we know that we have 12 or 13 years more to adapt to even worse climatic events. And it is going to mean working with households across this country to tie down roofs, to change how we build. You heard William Duguid just now talk about the ambitious program in housing. We want a silent revolution in housing in this country with 10,000 homes being built. But we can do that because we have contemplated how we can go outside of the box and put photovoltaic panels on people's roofs, facilitate your being able to do that. Not just for the new 10,000 homes, but we commit to working with you and the credit unions so that 50,000 existing houses can start to enter that market. It is what is going to help us to turn the sugar industry around. And in there, the leadership necessary to deal with the sugar industry has meant that this government has had to go where no previous Prime Minister of Barbados has gone. And what do I mean by that? That every previous Prime Minister since 1970s, early 70s, from Errol Walton Barrow right through to Tom Adams, right down to my last predecessor, all have put money to subsidize the sugar industry. And we have said that it must stop now and that we will think outside of the box, that a sugar factory is only a 3-month power factory. But that if we use our licensing powers, we can turn that into a 12-month power generation factory. And the money that we are taking every year from the taxpayers to support a flagging sugar industry where our cost of production is greater than the money we earn from the sugar that we sell. that money can now be taken and put in to healthcare and education in this country to make your life better. But it means thinking outside of the box. And that is why I say to you tonight that leadership matters. Our ability to negotiate with people outside, to get the policy space. Let me be very clear, and God knows it. We want to be able to produce as much food, nutritional food here, as we can. And I want to salute this man. You heard Clyde Maskell last night talk about him. But I've come to tell you that Indar Ware will go down as the best Minister of Agriculture that this country has ever seen. And why? He is grappling with fundamental issues to reposition the sector in this country. I just spoke to you about what we're doing in sugar. Every night I talk about the fact, Indar, that you are the first person who has seen and felt and heard as a Minister of Agriculture the plight of women in agriculture who for centuries have had to go in the fields and relieve themselves in the presence of others, our mothers, our grandmothers, our aunts, our sisters. And for the first time, this government put in place containers with bathrooms and kitchens so that the workers can be treated to a decent day, even while working in the fields. You know, judge this government by our actions. I'm not interested in all the fancy talk and the videos and all the madness from before, because it doesn't put a cent in your pocket. Not a cent. And that is why I say leadership matters. We have to be able to create the policy space that allows our farmers the protection to be able to grow and sell in this country, rather than having to face an onslaught of imports. That is why Barbados went for the UNCTAD conference, so that we could hold the presidency of UNCTAD for the next 3 years. This week, this month, Barbados also took over as head of the group of 77 countries and China. Do you understand that we are doing these things in order to be able to negotiate the policy space that will allow us to protect more production at a local level? Why? We can't wait till there's a hurricane or if there is a global supply disruption to say to our farmers, I can't bring in the food ain't coming in, I can't get the boat, I can't get this. People will starve. And if we are going to have food and nutritional security, we have to be planting that food all year round. And they have to know that they're not going to lose money because imports come in and flood the market and cause them to lose all that they have put in for weeks or months in growing the food. In order for that to happen, it requires strategic vision and repositioning. Those are critical skills in the office of Prime Minister. And I say to you tonight that a party that cannot even get its act together with a manifesto, a party that cannot even get its act together with calling its leader, cannot be the party to take this country to the next level or even to keep it safe in this position. The Dems are in George Street, always in a time capsule. There's nobody who respected Errol Barrow more than me. Many an afternoon I came home from school And he was there for 2-3 years, helping me through my homework, talking. But regrettably, it is not Errol Barr that you are voting for. It's not even anybody close to him. It is not David Thompson that you are voting for. And as for Frondell, Verla came out today and told us that Frondell was absolutely correct in telling you that there were 10 glorious years and that no one in this country could get him to feel ashamed of those years.
Oh.
Well, let me tell you something. I knew Frondell was a wordsmith, but I didn't know that he redefined definitions too. I didn't know that he wanted Oxford Concise Dictionary to have a new definition for the word glorious.
I'm gonna need security.
I didn't know that his contempt for you, the voters of Barbados, is so complete that after you told him in no uncertain terms that what they did was completely unacceptable to you, to the point where 3 in every 4 voters in this country on the last occasion said, we do not want you, and you're going to come back in 3.5 years and rub it in people's faces again and say that is the standard that the Democratic Labour Party is happy with. And even if Frondell wanted to say that, how does Verla come today and endorse that? I ask you tonight, please, remember what it was like between 2008 and 2018. Because the lost decade that we refer to clearly ought to be referred to their lost decade, because Frondell clearly has amnesia and has clearly forgotten what he asked you to endure. Last month, we sent out $47 million in reverse tax credits and tax refunds. The year before, we did it. The year before that, in 2018, our first year, we did it. We came in with the government owing $1.9 billion. And we've brought it down to $63 million for people over 12 months that we owe. Do you want to return to those dark days where you cannot see tomorrow? And if you don't, then I ask you, in St. Philip, we have 3 candidates. Indar Ware, who I told you is distinguishing himself. Indar carried me to River, and we put in now at River a pond with water to be able to help the farmers when they most need it. And we had to do it because if you heard the pleas of those farmers about what they have had to endure for years during the dry season and how they fear that all of their hard work comes to naught because of a lack of water. But he didn't do it only in River. We've done it in Bordens, in Haggards, in Spring Hall. And I am so happy that it is about to happen in my constituency at Lears with the Lears Land Lease Program that will bring opportunities to people in the urban corridor to start farming. But he hasn't stopped there. You heard him talk about the state of our soils and why we have to go dig deep and start to literally deal with the deadpan soils. Why we have to give it nutrients And if you listen to the United Nations, one of the greatest problems that the world will face in 40 years, they believe, is the failure of our soils to regenerate and to give us the yields that we need for food. We live in a world where water and food will be more valuable than oil, because we are going to get rid of the oil ultimately and use the renewable energy. And that is why philosophically you need a government that says that the renewable energy sector is not about only people coming in with foreign capital, but that we must leave for Bajans a piece of the action, because the sun and the rain and the water and the waves don't belong to any one of us, but it belongs to us collectively as a nation, and therefore the people of this country should benefit from it, and not just a handful of people. That is why leadership matters. We could get here and make mock sport all night. If you want jokes, I could do that too. But that doesn't help you. I ask you to be discerning. Many of us pray for discernment. I ask you in these next few days to be discerning. Is it going to be Sonia Brown, who continues to represent her people with dignity, who does not only give her voice, but gives of her time every day with a breakfast program for school children in St. Philip North that she herself is intimately involved in? Not Michael Lashley, who has only now come out of hibernation because an election has been called. Where was he when Hurricane Elsa came? Where was he when rooftops were blown off? Where was he when they had flooding in this parish? Where was Neil Marshall in Work Hall when the rains from Tropical Storm Kirk flooded? Where were they? Where was David Eswick? I say to you tonight that this general election cannot simply be a trigger for who will lead at George Street, especially since none of them don't add up to one when you put them in the pot. None of them. And notice, where is Dennis Lowe? They are so embarrassed about Dennis Lowe that you don't even see him on a national platform, because they know what his brand means to them. And if they know that, then why are they foisting him on the people of Christchurch East? But Wilfred Abrams will take care of him. So my friends, I have come here tonight with a simple message. The voice is weak, but the spirit and the message is nevertheless strong. Barbados does not have room for further errors. We have come through a decade that literally decimated too many families and too many businesses in this country under the Democratic Labour Party. We brought this country back from 23 downgrades. The outlook, not from me, but from outside, is stable. Why does that matter? Because if people from outside have confidence in you, investment will come, but also the cost of borrowing will stay low. When people do not have confidence in you, your borrowing cost goes up because you pay a premium for the risk. We have brought this country back to the point where your children can leave home and go down to UWI at Cave Hill, and you don't have to look for money to pay $15,000 and $20,000 a year. Why? Because if this country is to grow, we need more and more of our children educated, and there must be no barrier to education because of how a person is born or how much money they're born with. That is why leadership matters. And I ask you tonight, over the next few days, have the conversations in your families. Have the conversations at Putnam's house tomorrow. Have the conversations as you go in and come out of church on Sunday and tomorrow if you're Adventist. Have the conversations in your workplace Monday and Tuesday. Do not believe that this government is safe or that me are going to win. If you want me to be your Prime Minister, if you want the Barbados Labour Party and Indar Ware to be able to help you, or Sonia Brown, or Kay McConney, then you have to go out and vote. I have never seen a ballot box open yet with votes. And I'm tired saying, support is not votes. Flour is not cake. If you want to transition flour to cake, you got to do things with it. If you want to transition support to votes, you have to go out of your house and come and vote on Wednesday. And I ask you to do it Wednesday morning early and make doubly sure that Barbados' future, your family's future will be safe. Our manifesto is about strategic repositioning, because the leadership that we bring to this is that we cannot be all things to all people going forward. And the next few years will determine what Barbados will look like in the next 15 to 20 years. You carry an awesome responsibility. I ask you in Ruby to vote for Indar Ware. I ask you in St. Philip North to vote for Sonia Brown. I ask you in St. Philip West, give us Kay McConney, vote for her, because she has already shown what she has been made of in being able to make your life easier, so that instead of having to put in a tank of gas to go to town, to pay for services, or to get certificates of character, or to do anything else with government, she has been on the front line of digitizing for us. And ladies and gentlemen, if you can give us Indar Ware and Sonia Brown and Kay McConney, then the parish of St. Philip would have played its role to keeping Barbados safe. I ask you, therefore, to go out and vote for the Barbados Labour Party candidate Wednesday, January 19th, and let us get back on to the business of transforming this great nation of ours. Good night and God bless you.
Don't stand for my play that you vex. Get out there and give me the X. Cause you know BLP is the best. BLP. If you love Barbados as bad as me,
Vote for BLP.
me and the team BLP.
Vote for BLP.
You want the best for this country.
Vote for BLP.
Barbados Labour Party is for we.
Vote for BLP.
Why?
Them boys ain't ready.
Them ain't ready.
Them boys ain't ready yet.
I voted for
Them boys ain't
BLP.
ready. Them boys ain't ready yet.
Me and the BLP.
Them boys ain't ready yet.
I voted for
Them boys ain't
BLP.
ready. Them boys ain't ready yet.
Mia is best in league. I know you agree with me. The rest of them ain't ready, and that ain't too good for we. But Mia and BLP, the future for this country. So January 19th, I vote in BLP. If you love Barbados as bad as me,
Vote for BLP.
Mia and the team BLP.
Vote for BLP.
You want the best for this country.
Vote for
Well,
BLP.
Barbados Labour Party is for we.
Vote for BLP. Them boys ain't ready. Them boys ain't ready yet.
I voted for BLP.
Them boys ain't ready yet. Them boys ain't ready. Them boys ain't ready yet.
I voted for
Them boys ain't
BLP.
ready. Them boys ain't ready yet.
Let's give it up for our Prime Minister, Mayor Amor Montley, as she reminded us why we should vote for a better life for our people by going out on Wednesday, the 19th of January, and vote in your numbers for Indar Ware in the south, Kay McConney in the west, and Dr. Sonia Brown in the north. Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard the Prime Minister speak about Indarware. And those of you who have worked or who are working know there's a better feeling than getting commendations from your boss. If your boss is happy with you, you know that you're doing the right thing. And you would have just heard from the boss or Prime Minister who is commending the work of Indarware as he continues to transform the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. But before I can mention about his good work in the ministry, I want to remind you of his representation. Over the last 3.5 years, 2 of which were under COVID, where almost all persons were restricted to their homes, and where persons needed assistance. And our representative Indarware ensured with his team that he was able to reach everyone where they were to ensure that if they didn't receive hampers, they received vouchers. Yes. And I'm sure that that service was well received. Indarware has been tasked with a very difficult responsibility in the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. He has been asked by a Prime Minister to look after 3 critical areas through that ministry. One being the Farmer Empowerment and Enfranchisement Drive, where we are seeking to reduce the imports for agriculture and feed our people. He's also responsible for the transformation, for driving the transformation of the sugar industry. He's also responsible for medicinal cannabis. That is testament of a man who has been working hard. But ladies and gentlemen, I say to you, we have a very strong list of speakers for you. Colleagues of Indarware in the cabinet who has come to support him. And one such person is our newest Minister of Tourism and International Transport. A person who has been working over the last couple of months, especially under COVID conditions, to ensure that we can get back those routes that we have lost. And I want to remind you, people of St. Philip and Barbados, that our minister, Lisa Cummings, has been able to return 90% of those routes to Barbados after COVID. Give her a clap for that. But not only that, she's been working tirelessly to ensure that we venture out and create new routes to ensure that our tourists can come to Barbados. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let us welcome Lisa Cummings to our podium.
We going with the BLP. We resting ready, them and ready. Yeah, we going with the BLP. We resting ready, them and ready. People smiling again, feeling proud again, 'cause we rising, we rising.
Good night, St. Philip. I was a little lower down in St. Philip a short while ago, and as I was making my way up here, I was saying in the car, boy, St. Philip is such a beautiful place to be. It's such a special place that feels like people can call it home. And I was there with Cappy Greenwich, and he was speaking right before me in the other location, and he was talking about how much of a Philippian he is, and how special St. Philip is, and that is what I want to talk about to you tonight. St. Philip is a special place. Many people say that it has a history of voting in a certain way. And in 2018, we put paid to that idea. In 2022, tonight, I want to call on the good people of this constituency, and it's very difficult after my Prime Minister and my boss has just taken the floor, has just left the podium, to come and say anything other than what she has just said and to endorse it. We need to send a very clear message, and I'm going to share with you some of what I said to St. Philip West a short while ago. In 2018, we rejected the Democratic Labour Party and the candidates that they brought to St. Philip, from David Eswick to Michael Lashley and to the newcomer who is here in this constituency who would wish in his dreams to unseat Indar Weir. We, however, made a decision in 2018 that Barbados stood for something special, just like St. Philip. That Barbados stood for something that meant something of importance to us. We took on the responsibility as an administration to restore not just good governance and all the important things that Prime Minister has spoken about, but we took on the responsibility to return basic dignity, basic pride to the people of St. Philip. We brought leadership to the country and to the parish that said, we are indeed, as I was driving up, something special. And you have an ambassador who has a song that resonated in my head as I was driving up there. You are something special. And you deserve better than any single candidate on a Democratic Labour Party platform offering a brand of leadership that you rejected in 2018. I am not persuaded that anyone in Barbados has as short a memory as the Democratic Labour Party would have us to believe. I am not persuaded that anyone in Barbados is any less disgusted in 2022 than we were in 2018 with the offerings of the Democratic Labour Party. I am also not persuaded that there is anybody in this country who forgets the indignities that they brought on our parliament, to our people in the things that they said to us, not just about things like transitory inconveniences. No, I'm not just talking about that. I'm not just talking either about sewage either. No, I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about Barbados being able to stand tall on the regional stage and on the global stage and say, this is who we are. This is what we represent, and these are the people who represent us. I am not persuaded that many in Barbados are in any way having amnesia, that these people do not know, nor did they then represent who we are as a people. But Indar Weir, I have had the privilege of sitting in cabinet with him for just about 22 months. He is a gentleman. I have had the privilege of sitting in cabinet with Indar Weir, leading the charge on agriculture, making sure that simple things that people take for granted, like putting bathrooms in fields for agricultural workers, got done. I am sure that I have sat in a cabinet where an Indar Weir has made the case for poultry farmers to be able to have the benefit of a subsidy that allowed them not to push the prices of feed up, which then disadvantage you, the people of St. Philip. I sat in a cabinet with the man called Indar Weir who fought for all of those things. I sat in a cabinet with Indar Weir who talked about the condition of roads that his predecessor did not fix, but he wants to make sure are given the necessary attention because you are something special. St. Philip is something special. And Indar Weir, who calls you his people, his family, his friends, the people who form his community, he is standing up today, tonight, tomorrow, we hope, and every day after January 19th as the representative for this constituency to say that you deserve something special. I want, however, to take a moment to to share a little bit of the differences between the Barbados Labour Party and the Democratic Labour Party, and what is becoming to you in a leader like Indar Ware under the prime ministerial leadership of the Honourable Mia Amor-Motley, who just left this space, and what a government under her leadership brings that is so fundamentally different to that which the Democratic Labour Party would wish to offer you. This is an administration that has faced no end of crises, as you all know. I don't have to tell you. But unlike the Democratic Labour Party, the choices we made protected you. Unlike the Democratic Labour Party, we did not make excuses. We did not say, Kadir. We didn't throw our hands in the air and say there was nothing we could do. When we found the tourism sector that was collapsed, we introduced a BEST program. And many of you are interested in working in the tourism sector again, and we want to ensure that there are places that are there for you. And that is for that reason that there are new investments coming in the sector, including up at Sam Lord's Castle, where that property is meant to be divided into 2 properties, and our investment team has worked to make sure that the deal that they came and inherited is now transformed into something that would benefit people. Something that would ensure that you not only have an opportunity to visit as a guest at Sam Lord's Castle, but in partnership with the credit unions, that you have an opportunity also for ownership. That is the leadership that this administration brings despite challenges. This is an administration that has also made decisions about ensuring that a community like St. Philip, where so many of you have access to beautiful open spaces, beautiful beaches, amazing attractions, and of course our hotel plants, that you have the opportunity to benefit from Airbnb in your communities by people who want to be able to have an authentic Bajan experience. You are also the people we want to ensure have an opportunity to benefit from community tourism and kiosks and villages. You are also the people we want to be able to ensure have greater opportunities, led by Indar Ware, who is advocating at all times on your behalf for things like investment in medicinal cannabis, which is yet another initiative that my colleague in cabinet and my partner now here in this constituency in ensuring that we return the Barbados Labour Party to office. These are some of the initiatives that we hope to bring to you. This is not Barbados. This is not a situation where we can say investment is welcome. Yes, it is welcome. We need capital. This is not a situation where we're saying that capital is going to exclude you. It cannot exclude the ordinary people of Barbados, the working class people of Barbados. You are aspirational just like all of us. Your needs are no less legitimate than mine, than Indar's, than everybody else standing here. You have an opportunity under the Barbados Labour Party leadership to talk about the question of ownership. Not just ownership in whole, but ownership in part. Part ownership of medicinal cannabis co-ops. Part ownership of Sam Lord's Castle, fractional ownership in partnership with the credit unions. Part ownership in new initiatives that allow for fractional cooperatives to be created. You have an opportunity as part of a housing program that is being rolled out all across this country, including in St. Philip, that gives you the opportunity to not just own your own home, but to own the renewable energy that powers that home. This is the Barbados Labour Party. We don't have the time when we have a country to run and people to look after to spend time on petty insults and gutter tactics. We don't have the time to focus on throwing as much mud as possible to see what sticks. We have a country to run. We have a people to inspire. We have constituents to represent. And I ask you, on January 19th, when you go to the polls in this St. Philip area, we are asking you to give a vote for your future, for your children's future, for this parish's future. And that future is safe in the hands of the Barbados Labour Party. It is safe in the hands of Indar Ware. It is safe in the hands of Sonia Brown. And I've just left Kay McConney. It is safe in the hands of Kay McConney. It is safe in the hands of a team led by the Honourable Mia Amor-Motley, who is committed to you. You've heard many things, and I'm going to close by saying this. You have heard many things. You've heard this about leadership, our Prime Minister versus the President. But our Prime Minister has assembled a formidable team, and she has been driven, she has been focused. It is not unusual to get a message from Prime Minister who I am convinced does not sleep at 1 o'clock in the morning, or I'm sure Indar has had all hours in the morning phone calls because she is driven to see a change in this country. She would never have brought the likes of the people, say Michael Lashley, Dennis Lowe, David Eswick, to Europe, to a platform that she leads, because they would never be associated with the brand of the Barbados Labour Party that stands for something far more than that. Gutter politics is not our style. Pompous setting is not our style. We face problems, we get them fixed, and we get the job done. We focus on leadership, transforming our country for the benefit of our people, and we don't have time for the likes of Verda de Pisa, who could not even give you the respect of assembling a team that reflected your image, who could not even give you the respect of accepting that in 2018 you were so disgusted. As women and as mothers of children, aunts, grandmothers, you were so disgusted by these people, you rejected them. And she has come, a woman herself, and brought them back and offered them to you. I say to you tonight, I ask you on behalf of the people of Barbados who want nothing to do with any of them, cast your vote on January 19th for the candidates of the Barbados Labour Party in the Eastern Zone, Indar Ware, Sonia Brown, and Kay McConney. But tonight, in particular, Indar Ware, who is the man. Indar is the man who is going to represent you, and I ask you to give him your vote. Thank you all very much, and good night.
We going with the BLP. We resting ready. Them men ready. Yeah, we going with the BLP. We resting ready. Them men ready.
People smiling again, feeling proud again, 'cause we rising.
And who is the man? Who is the man? Indar Ware is the man, the best representative that we have had in St. Philip South. Do you agree? A man for all seasons, a man for the people. He don't pompous it, you know, but he does what he says he will do. Promises made, promises kept. And those of you in St. Philip who have been keeping score, because I know some of you have, and you remember his promises from the last election. And I'm sure if you are like me and make a note, he has already delivered on all of his promises. But I will not tell you about those promises that he has delivered on. I will leave that for him to tell you. So tonight, St. Philip South, and in particular, Union, Ruby, Work Hall, and those hear my voice, I'm going to bring to you our next representative for the next 5 years for St. Philip South. The man who has walked the length and breadth of this constituency. I don't know how he does it, but the last time I checked, there are about 12,000 voters in this constituency. And since the last election, the day after the last election, he has been moving out with his team. I don't know if there is any other representative who has been able to keep their team together like Indar. I don't know how he does it. But if you make a check, you will recognize that all those persons who would have walked him 3.5 years ago are still here walking with him today. And that is testimony of the man. We are inspired by him. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to our podium Indar the man, our next representative for St. Philip South.
Pockets real bad. no money to spend. Cupboards empty, God don't come but he send. Go vote for Indar. Indar is the man providing opportunity for you and for me. Yes, he got the whole plan. Go vote for Indar. Indar is the man, cause he stand up tall, don't stop at all, doing all the best that he can. Cause he's strong and confident, the other team incompetent. Make a show security tight so you could sleep easily at night. He listen to all the problems to see how best he can solve them. Look, you need a job, just come to him. He's taking care of the elderly. Go vote for Indar. Indar is the man providing.
A very good night to the residents of Ruby Park, Union Development, Work Hall, Ruby Tenantry, and all of you within earshot of my voice, including Seaview. Special good night to my team, a team that has walked with me, stayed with me. I want to use this occasion to thank my campaign manager, election agent, chief canvassers, all the poll captains and foot soldiers for bringing us to where we are at this point in this election campaign. I've heard the other platforms, and I want to say to you, the residents of Ruby Park, because I'm well aware of some of the things that have been told to you in your homes. One, I do not join that style of politics. I do not engage in that kind of behavior, so please don't expect a response from me. The other thing I want to say to you is that I want to continue a journey with you where I appeal to your heart and your conscience to understand that I have never left Ruby Park. After being elected, I stayed with the residents of Ruby Park and Union because they are organized. They have a system through community where I came to speak at your community meetings, your neighborhood watch meetings. I joined you for social events. I did the same in Union Development and in Long Bay Development. And I'm reflecting on these things tonight because it is important, since I find that there is now a fetish with going around telling people they don't see a representative. So no matter how much you do, no matter how many times you visited, somebody can come and plant in your mind the notion that you have not been seen. We had a power outage in Barbados early in 2021, and where was I seen? Right across St. Philip South, speaking to the people, helping to assuage their concerns and try to restore their confidence and to let them know that things will be fixed. When I was doing this with the same team I have. But I ask all of you tonight within earshot of my voice, if you saw any of the others who are walking around telling you that I don't do nothing and I have not been seen. The houses along this area can recall that I was over here canvassing. It is not always easy to call at some houses. You call, sometimes they answer, sometimes they're not home, sometimes they don't answer. That's the hardcore reality of politics. But no one can tell you in Ruby Park that I have not made the effort even to come to people who have called and asked for a private conversation with me. And these things I have done as a representative in the most trying times of our entire existence. And I have to repeat this night after night after night because we have to get the point. And whilst I thank my Prime Minister, our political leader, Mayor Amor Motley, who I am sure all of you know, just like all of us in the Barbados Labour Party, is our leader and will continue to be our leader. We don't have if, buts, or maybe. We are absolutely sure. So I wish to thank her for her endorsement tonight. But I also want to tell all of you, all that I have achieved as an MP and a sitting member in her cabinet came through extreme pushing and motivation, coaching and mentoring from the same Mayor Amor Motley. I cannot walk into her cabinet with a half-baked presentation. It has to be thorough and it has to make sense. So if I have achieved a lot as a minister in her cabinet, it is because she has set the standard and all of us have to reach it. And I'm saying to you, St. Philip South, that I have never deserted you. We have been on the ground from 2018 all the way through to the end of 2019 and into 2020. And as I've explained in the other areas where we had meetings, at March of 2020, all of us, me and all of you, were asked to stay indoors. All of us. We had a shutdown of the country where we had to manage a COVID pandemic, seeking to save lives, and it was no different over here as it was anywhere else. All of us had to remain indoors, coming out only for essential services. So we made the laws. How could I be out canvassing? And for anyone to come with the notion that I haven't been around is either spiteful, wicked, deceitful, or just interested in sitting in Parliament because they feel that they can come and hoodwink all of you and make you believe that you should give them a chance to sit in the Parliament after they have done nothing. They didn't even visit you. I came over here. Last time was for your independent social, when you had your last one here. And I've never given up. And I want all of you to understand that within that COVID environment, whilst we weren't going door-to-door canvassing, we were in the streets during the daytime period, giving support to the most vulnerable people in St. Philip South. We were out there helping children with devices and Wi-Fi, electricity, so that they can get to school and do the online classes. We were out there when they returned to face-to-face school, giving them support, uniforms, books, a full suite of support we were putting in place for our school children in this constituency. And I want to say to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, that we also made sure that families were taken care of, those who came to the office, because when a person is in need of help, I will know either if they call me directly, if they visit the office or call the office, or if a friend or neighbor or family member informs me. But I have always responded. And the one thing nobody can say is that I do not respond to messages when they come to me. As a matter of fact, every time I traverse my constituency, people say the one thing I know about you, Indar, is that you do respond. If I call you and you didn't answer the phone, you return the calls. Such is my stewardship, because I understand that people matter. And therefore, I am prepared to continue this journey that I've started with you, treating you with dignity. And I will endeavor to make sure that we dismiss all the myths that have been spewed around St. Philip South and in St. Philip, as the Dems feel that they can target and topple St. Philip and get into Parliament with 3 seats. Will not happen. And I'm confident it won't happen. And I have said over and over and over, based on the support that I'm getting from my constituents, from my people, the WhatsApp messages, the phone calls, it is telling me that the people are prepared to return me as their duly elected representative. And I've had those messages coming in up to today after my speech in 6 Rows last night. And I'm sorry I don't have the same voice as last night. But I'm saying to you that I've got enough to let you know that I have great plans for you. I have plans to give you hope and a future. Many of you spoke to me when I canvassed over here. You said to me you want a facility where people can walk at night. Many people walk their dogs. And you said to me, you want to be able to come out for recreational purposes, walk, relax, and that these things you do after work. When Minister Dwight Sutherland gets here tonight, he's busy right now at other meetings, but he can tell you that I have already made provisions to create that recreational facility right here in Ruby Park for the residents of Ruby Park. It will come not as a place where people can come into Ruby Park just because there is a facility. It is for you, the people, and it will be discussed with you, the people. But it will come with what you asked me for when I was canvassing for the 2018 elections. You said you want it properly lit so that you can use it at night. It will be. You said you want it properly maintained with facilities for children. It will be. And you also will have the opportunity to use that facility for walking as you requested when I canvassed over here. The only reason why you do not have it already is because of the period of shutdown we went through, and there was no need to put floodlights and those kind of facilities on the pasture because people weren't able to come out and use them. And the fact that we have been able to divert our resources to Harrison's Point so that we don't put COVID patients with patients at the QEH. Those resources were used to help protect all of us by creating a facility at Harrison's Point for COVID patients, whilst we protect those already sick people in the QEH by not allowing them to mix with COVID patients. I'm saying to you that if the Barbados Labour Party wasn't in power, there's every likelihood that we would have had pure chaos in this country under the Dems and many people dying during the COVID period. And what I'm hearing from their platforms, I am convinced. Because people are coming up there either to criticize for the sake of criticizing. Many nights they're defaming innocent people. Many nights they're resorting to expletives. One cursing Liz Thompson. Many nights they're cursing the females of the Barbados Labour Party as if they're saying to you, the people who dismissed them in 2018, I don't care what you did, I come back just the same way I was in 2018. Cursing all and sundry. No change, a few different faces. But the one thing that you can look at and recognize that the Democratic Labour Party has not changed is the return of the 3 Eswick, Lashley, Low.
Oh.
And this is as low as politics can get in this day and age. That you would want to tell people who dismiss these 3 people that is fit and okay to bring them back, and they are behaving the same way as they left in 2018. And Barbadians, I'm asking you to wisen up, because the criticism that we have been receiving as a government certainly isn't fair. And that you must not allow yourself to be led into believing that the times we were asked to govern in since 2020 were normal times and we had to take normal decisions. They were not. And our world-class leader, and that is why the Prime Minister spoke about leadership, because she understands what it is to make decisions, to be visionary. And when we took to managing the COVID pandemic, recognizing that people can't go to work, businesses will close, people can't pay the bills, we then determined that we had to put a safety network around the people of this country. Harrison's Point was one, the isolation centers at Queen's College, Blackman and Gollop, Foundation School, Paragon, all part of the process, so that we don't put burden and stress and overwhelm the healthcare system and the polyclinics and in the hospital. But we also made a decision that when people are home and they can't feed their children, can't pay the bills, and that the children crying out, that they will be stressed. And so during that same pandemic, this government and I, as an MP for St. Philip South, generated employment for the people of this constituency. Now, there are those who want to look at the ones doing the debushing program, and I've heard it repeatedly, and I ask myself, what kind of joke is this? That you're referring to people who are coming around and beautifying your community. You're saying they're doing low-end jobs. Look, please, chase them crazy bald heads out of town. We cannot go on this way. So the fact that a man is coming around to do maintenance, removing bush, cleaning the streets, he's now, if I understand them, because tacitly they're saying that he's nobody. But this is part of the safety net that we were putting in place when we contemplate what will happen if you can't find jobs for these people. And imagine those young men sitting down when the day come on the block. They gotta go somewhere, somehow, and find money to smoke the Fanta and the weed. Somewhere, somehow, they gotta find money to help grandma and mommy and her children. And a man spoke to me last night and told me exactly this. I am so grateful for my job in the ash cleanup, because I can now help Granny. My grandmother was struggling. I can give you a little something. I can still go out and buy a drink or two, and I can have a smoke and look after my little children. Previously, I would have had to go through somebody's window. That's what the man told me. The man told me I would have to do crime. And this government saved me from having to go that route. So that I'm saying to you, the people of Ruby, think of this for a moment. Many young men from surrounding districts during the COVID pandemic can't find work. And there are lots of them that got work. So if they can't find work and you are home and they perceive, they don't know for a fact. They only perceive you to be living comfortably, but when you leave your house to go to the pharmacy or the supermarket, because you couldn't go to work unless you were part of the essential services. But when you leave your house, you don't know what will happen. We saved Barbados from having that kind of mindset with the people who say, if I can't get a job, I can go do crime. Y'all understand how serious this is? And a visionary leader said, no, whilst we are in shutdown, these people got to have work. And they're out there working still. Now I heard from the same BLP platform that if they should become government, they're getting rid of all those jobs. So I ask you, because many of you in St. Philip, and we know how we just roll in St. Philip, we're either family or friends, but we're the republic. So if you touch one, you touch all. And therefore, I ask you, the people of St. Philip, would you vote for a government that is going to spitefully come and get rid of those people who do an excellent job in keeping this country clean? And all we need to do is to continue to work with them. And I understand the culture. People have called me and they have said things that they're not happy with when they see them at work, and we're going to get them fixed. But it takes a fair amount of training, patience, and understanding in order to move them forward. Think about it. These are people who already believe that they're not part of the construct. That's the first thing. The other thing is that they're prepared in their minds to do whatever it takes to survive. We have to do some remedial work. And in order for us to do it, the first thing we have to do is to show them that we care. Mayor cares, the Barbados Labour Party government cares, I care as your MP, and all the MPs around here care. That's what we are doing. But we didn't only look in that direction, because many of the old people in St. Philip South and right across St. Philip would be home alone. No one to look after them, to help them. They're lonely. Need somebody to come and read a book or at least read the newspaper for them. And we started the companionship program where many females, particularly those with 3 and 4 and 5 children, father in working, father not around, father ain't interested, whatever it is, we gave them jobs in that companionship program as well, so that they can also earn. And then there was the COVID monitoring unit. And there's a post that was created called Community Health Liaison Officer. Many of St. Philip people, St. Philip South people, got jobs in that program as well. So when you talk about representation, I am telling you this is what it looks like. And if it looks like me, it looks fairly good too. But I didn't stop there. In my ministry, whilst representing the people of St. Philip South, keeping my constituency office open for Wednesday night clinics until COVID shutdown came, because I don't want to confuse the two like everybody is trying to confuse it and try to put in your mind that we didn't care and we disappeared. Nobody disappeared away. All of us had to live by the restrictions. But through my constituency office, daily, we provided assistance to people either coming through the door or when we were working from at home, because all of us were still accessible by telephones and by WhatsApp and by email and Instagram, because I got messages on Instagram too. Now my Instagram page is managed by a team, but at least messages came there too. And I'm saying to you all that whilst representing this constituency and staying with the people, go to any church, Ruby Nazarene, Crane Nazarene, Faith New Testament, Jesuit Nazarene, St. Martin's Parish Church, go to any and ask them if I wasn't sitting with the congregation on Sundays, being with my people as I promised I would have if I win the seat in 2018. Coming to your events, and I said the best way to maintain visibility and to be amongst your people is through community neighborhood watch programs. These are things I said and things I did. So the fact that they're not happening now is not because I am not interested. It's because none of you are meeting anymore. And the reason for it is because of COVID. But I continued, however, and those of you here in Ruby Park, the president of your group can tell you that I had online Zoom meetings to find out from the constituents how I can assist and what is humbugging them. Zoom meetings. Bringing all of St. Philip South together in one forum. And I also held town hall meetings to take feedback from you. This is what representation looks like. So I dare anyone to challenge these things, because for them to do so, they will have to come and convince you, the people who participated, that you weren't there. They will have to do that. When I walk the streets, they will have to convince you that I didn't walk it because you saw me. I went to your houses. And I'm saying to you that if we do not ask better of those who are seeking to be in public life, to represent people, and we continue to allow them to bring a narrative to you that is ancient, and it does not connect with our reality today, you will continue to put yourself in a position where a person who never intended to look after your interests gets a blight. Because emotion, when they appeal to your emotion and make you feel that everything is also wrong, that is only the serpent approach. That's the serpent approach. Eat the apple. That's what it is. And I'm saying to you all, let us forget that. Because I know that the only way these people can be serious is if they think that you all are not. So if they're not serious, then I know we have a new brand of Osimore in town. And all I can do is to ask you all to ask Osimore to leave town. Because this is not about jokes. Not about jokes. Equally, as Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Prime Minister spoke and endorsed my stewardship as minister. But I want to say to all of you that I have spent endless hours with those farmers over there at River. They will call me or message me, sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning, where you had the fellas upstream blocking the water from going downstream to the other farmers. And I have to be constantly sending an extension officer. And I have to be constantly going up there and appealing to them to not let everybody share. But we are so much into an environment where climate change has so brought upon us prolonged droughts that even the stream itself wasn't running as strong as it used to. And I took the Prime Minister, as she told you tonight, and I said, PM, we're going to fix this. She met with them. 2 of the farmers stood up, and they almost cried when speaking to the Prime Minister, showed her the crops that were beginning to dry up because they couldn't get water, and they were pointing out to her where the stream was being blocked. And she said to me, and Darrell, let's do something about this. First of all, we're going to unblock the stream. We unblocked the stream, but the water still wasn't coming fast enough. Because the strength for the water, when you get heavy rainfall, it flows heavily. But then when you're going through the prolonged droughts, you're getting it coming in trickles. And because it's being blocked, it's even worse. And we agreed that we will put at River 6 million gallons of water in a reservoir doing water harvesting. And last night I spoke to this because for many years, long before me as Minister of Agriculture, you Barbadians were saying we have reached the point where we need to stop letting the water run into the sea and start to harvest the water. But I can't ignore wisdom. When Barbadians tell you about something repeatedly, there's wisdom in it. And we determined that we are going to harvest the water because river, by dint of its name, is a water course. So now we are going to capture 6 million gallons of water at Bronx Pond to put in an irrigation system to feed water to all of the farmers. And then we're going to put an additional one down by Tree Houses Plantation as well, so that we cover the entire area. And they are going to use a meter system just like the mobile phone. And the Prime Minister spoke about layers tonight. We're starting it with layers. Just like a mobile phone. You come rather than have a bill sent to you. You come, you take a top up. So if you know that you want $500, that's what you take. When you run out, you come back, you get another top up. What are we doing here? We're allowing immediate access to water, but we are also making farmers recognize that they're in a business. And the same way you could top up your mobile phone, you top up your meter as well. And if you need assistance, then you come in and we can give you an account so you can get credit, just like how you get your post-pay arrangement. We have worked with the farmers in St. Philip because I recognize St. Philip as a farming community. I was born and raised at Church Village, Clifton Hill, just off Guinea. And my grandmother had enough land, if nothing else. So I know what it's like to raise pigs, chickens, go and help she weed, pull grass, cut canes, pick pumpkins, and all them things. Oh, vet, you know that. And we lived as a community. All of us were involved. So I understand what it is when these farmers are going through their struggles. And we have determined we are fixing it and bring a new deal for food security and the farmers in Barbados. Under the feed program, farmers, when they produce, don't have to find a market for all their produce. The government is taking 40% up front. But you know, we are giving them the land at a reduced price. We are giving them the irrigation system, the drip lines they get in as a package that we are giving them after they're trained. They're also getting the safety gear. The land is being cultivated and they're getting the seedlings. That gives them a start, what we call a leg up. And after that, we're still taking 40% of the produce and paying them for it. And anybody who wants to make you believe that this government isn't working for the people is a deceiver. Really and truly. We have people now coming to do poultry, all kind of livestock farming. We're trying to increase the number of black belly sheep at Greenland so that we reach the stage where every household can also have a black belly sheep as a pet for children growing up so that they can have discipline and that they will understand the importance of having the Barbados black belly sheep as a brand. Leroy McLean is currently running that program. And we have also determined that all of those crops that we weren't planting because we didn't pay attention enough, to cut them off our food import bill, we are now targeting those through a task force that I have set up with farmers, meeting with the Ministry of Agriculture. And the Prime Minister spoke about the transition of the sugar industry. Clyde Maskell spoke about it last night. But who can forget that we were paying just over $220 per ton of cane? It has been reduced to $150 plus a climate mitigation subsidy of $40. Cut. And all the farmers and I are still good friends. It never made headlines as something negative, because we recognize there are other things we can do, including giving them a chance to use Barbadian molasses to put in the Barbadian rum, so that we have Barbadian rum going overseas made with Barbadian molasses, and that we can package our sugar rather than sell it in bulk. I said to the Prime Minister, you know, are we still selling sugar in bulk and losing money? And she said, so when are you going to stop it? I tell you, the following crop. And by the following crop, we were no longer shipping sugar in bulk to the UK for them to refine and send back to us at prices we can't afford. We are packaging the sugar ourselves. And we are selling it on the domestic market as well as exporting it as a finished product in our own packages. That's what we are doing. And all of those workers who work in the sugar industry, my grandmother worked at Guinea Plantation. Many a day I went to work with her. If you want to answer the call of nature, down through the cane ground you had to go. Females, young females, when they're at that time of the month, no bathroom facilities. And we determined that that will come to an end. And I have now retrofitted all the BAMC farms with state-of-the-art facilities that have bathrooms retrofitted for the sanitary requirements of the females. But equally the lunchroom. The thing is driven by solar power. So you can charge your mobile phone whilst you're in the lunchroom. And they have the mobile ports. Properly ventilated. People now live in a dignity as they go to work on those farms. Unprecedented. And I am now at the point where I believe more has to be done for those farmers as well who work in the sugar industry, particularly where all the profits went overseas. And we are working on a new deal for those workers as well. So when I tell you that this work is transformational, this is what I mean. So here it is, I'm using this two-pronged approach, where I'm giving you, the constituents, what you're asking for. And by the way, the garbage cans are coming. I spoke to Minister Adrian Ford. Were it not for the shutdown, you would have had them. But St. Philip didn't have the barcoding that is required so that if the garbage can is taken away, we can still track it. He told me they're all in place now. So your garbage cans will come out where we can do exactly what I said we were going to do by putting out garbage in stages, different containers with different color coding. And we don't do bulk garbage anymore. That is what I promised. That is what is coming. So Ruby Park and Union Development, Seaview, and all the way down to Work Hall and Ruby Territory, even though my voice is not as strong as it was when we started, I want to say to all of you that I need you to come out on January 19th and vote for me in your large numbers so this work can continue. You don't want nobody coming to try to figure out what it is to do. This is work that I am going to continue. And I'm saying to all of you, every last one of you, that you have a government that looks after your best interests. You have a government that is preparing a future for you and your children and your children's children and their children. And I'm saying to you that when we move to a digital platform in Barbados, and when we move to total renewable energy and get rid of fossil fuels, that you, the people here in Ruby Park, who have been asking me for natural gas, do not have to go that route anymore. Because we are putting renewable energy, the solar voltaics, on over 50,000 old stops. The Prime Minister said it tonight. So there's no need for you to want for us to come and dig up the earth and drain gas to run to your houses. You can get it in renewable energy. And the cost of your electricity can go down. The government is helping you get the systems. And you get the overall benefit, including feeding into the grid. Many times better than asking for natural gas. Many times. And we are bringing everybody along. So that when I say to you that this leadership of the Barbados Labour Party is visionary, this is what it looks like. When I say to you that my representation and my stewardship will last you for decades, this is what it looks like. I am not here to fool nobody. I am not here to tell you tales. I'm not here to give you a moment of feeling good about things that are unrealistic. I'm a very practical person. And many times when you have to be very pragmatic and show people another way, sometimes they don't like it. But when they see the benefits of it later on, then they turn around and say, oh yeah, I get what you were trying to say. And I say to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, that no matter how difficult the times were, we were able to help you to thrive. Ladies and gentlemen, this was not easy. It was not easy. We came in when the country had no money. And just as we solved the problem of our debt restructuring so that we can create the elbow room and the fiscal space for some of that money to remain in Barbados rather than pay debt with it and pay interest, COVID came and introduced a new game. So we started off with it difficult, and it got even more difficult during the COVID period. If you ain't getting tourism, and that's your main economic driver, already you're on a spot of bother. There's no real manufacturing. And the only sector that gave growth in 2020 was agriculture. So you understand how we were crippled. We were crippled. We got your food. We never ran out. But there are other things. So when your main economic driver isn't there, then it's going to be difficult. But in spite of the fact that it was difficult, we were still able to deliver. $600 grants for people with children, can't pay the bills, ain't got no savings. $600 grants. The unfortunate thing about that is that there are people who want to get the $600 grant and still working for big salaries. And we have to spend time explaining these things because the poor people who don't have a job need it more than the person with a job. They do. And so you have to spend the time talking people through these things. And I say to you all that we have been bold, we have been precise. But the only way you can do that, ladies and gentlemen, is when you have vision and you understand the task that is before you. That's the only way you can do it. And I want to say to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, that if you give me another term, the work that I've started is going to expand for you. And you and your children and your children's children will continue to benefit. Do not be misled. Do not be misled. So that when the voices of discord are descending upon you, just note that I have explained to you exactly what went on in this constituency through my constituency office as your MP and through my ministry. And for that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to continue the journey, and I ask you, give us Sonia Brown in St. Philip North. Give us Kay McConney in St. Philip West. And I want to thank you for bringing me back in St. Philip South. Good night, and may God bless you.
Pockets real bad, no money to spend. Cupboards empty, God don't come but he send. Go vote for Indar. Indar is the man providing opportunity for you and for me. Yes, he got the whole plan. Go vote for Indar. Indar is the man, cause he stand up tall, don't stop at all, doing all the best that he can. Cause he's strong and confident, the other team incompetent. Make sure security tight so you can sleep easily at night. He listen to all the problems.
Yes, Indar is the man. He would have given you a record of his stewardship over the last 3.5 years. And if you are honest with yourself, you would recognize that he has worked tirelessly, not only for you in St. Philip South, but tirelessly as the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security. And as the Prime Minister said, I think I said it 2 nights ago, and the Prime Minister said it again, Indar will prove to be the best Minister of Agriculture and Security Barbados has ever experienced. Give it up for the man. A man who is modest. He said that there was growth in the agriculture sector. But do you know that the only growth that was experienced in all the sectors was in agriculture? And not a 3% growth, a 5% growth. But you can imagine working on the austerity measures that he was able to achieve 16% growth in the sector. That is testimony to the hard work of the man. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for allowing us to come into your space tonight and sharing with you why you should go out on Wednesday the 19th of January to make Barbados the place that you would want to live for the next 5 years by voting for the BLP and ensuring that we have a better place for all. Thank you and have a good night. God bless.
Don't stand for my place.